Hey, this is Tom Webster, and this week we're talking about the partial attention economy of video podcasting. When asked if they listen to full episodes, watch full episodes, or watch clips, audiences surveyed gave a resounding yes. Today I'm going to break down what that means for podcasting and how we should act on it. But first, for the first time, more podcast listeners say they have watched a podcast in the last 30 days than have listened to one. Yet, simply popping your podcast on YouTube is likely to fail. So what are podcasters to do? Well, you can join us next Wednesday, December 13th at 2 o'clock p.m. Central, 3 o'clock p.m. Eastern, for the debut of Sound You Can See, podcasting's video dilemma, the latest study from Sounds Profitable. Next week's release of Sound You Can See is going to prompt some discussions, I'll wager. Discussions about how we think about the video podcast audience and the YouTube audience in particular. One of the reasons why we subtitled this report, Podcasting's Video Dilemma, was to address one of the nagging questions we had about shows like the Joe Rogan Experience. When people say they consumed the show, did they listen to the podcast? Did they watch the full show on Spotify? Or did they watch clips on YouTube? Well, the audience is never wrong about these things, and the audience responded loudly, yes. And that's the thing about audiences. They never fit neatly into one box or another. In different contexts and different situations, they want different things, and they have different priorities. And that's the heart of what we're going to dive into with this full report, which again will debut in a free webinar next week, and you can see the link for that in the show notes. Now, there was so much in this data and in this research about how and why people choose to watch or listen to their favorite shows that not all of it could fit into a single report, or Adobe might have sued us for an illegal PDF or something. I don't know. So I wanted to share something with you that was too good for the cutting room floor that I hope you'll find interesting. In the webinar, I'm going to outline exactly how Rogan's audience consumes his show and where his YouTube clips come into play. In general, though, I think we suffer in this business from a bit of binary thinking about clips versus full episodes. And by clips, by the way, I mean a meaningful, self-contained segment, not a teaser or a trailer. What Rogan does is provide full value in his clips, a complete sentence, a complete thought, joke, or a conclusion that could stand on its own, whether or not you watch or listen to the full show. Now, I separate this from a trailer because trailers are not necessarily what people want to see on YouTube, and that's in the data, by the way. People watch YouTube to see the thing and not a tease for what the thing is. Sometimes they want to see the thing in short form, and sometimes they have the time and the setting to see the whole darn thing. The key to long-term success on YouTube is to give them all of the things. Some might say that clipping out the best punchlines or key exchanges in a discussion will satiate people's appetite for the full show, and they'll only watch the clip. Now, it's true that some movie trailers give away the whole movie, but in those cases, it's generally not a good movie, is it? Now, I'm assuming success for you, that your movie is good, and that a shorter piece of content extracted from your podcast but entirely self-contained won't cannibalize the audience for your full show. After all, clips can be monetized as well, and the word for clip audience is also audience. Now, part of this conclusion is based on the data from one question in particular, which was asked to our sample of over 1,100 video podcast consumers, and amongst those who watched shorter clips or highlights of their favorite podcasts. 17% said that they prefer to watch clips or highlights. Double that, 36%, prefer to watch full episodes. 44% say it depends on the podcast, and another 3% don't have a preference. Now, if you just look at the preferences for clips versus full episodes, the full Monty runs at about twice the popularity, even with the existence of shorter clips. If your show is good, people watch or listen to the whole show. Now, when they choose clips, it's not you, it's them. They are in a context, setting, or mood that doesn't allow for the full show to be consumed, but they came to the show anyway because they like the show. The choice to watch a clip is more often than not an ephemeral choice and not a long-term substitute for full show consumption. One other point to make, though, is that while the percentage of people who consume both and prefer full shows is 36%. Well, that means that the percentage that either prefer clips, choose either depending on the show, or don't have a preference is the other 64%. And as the question is designed, 100% have done both in the past 30 days. This means that by not having an option for people who can't in a moment consume the longer version, you're incurring a bit of opportunity cost here by potentially sending them away to other short-form content when they're in that context. We can't always pay full attention to the content we're consuming, and that's one of the key messages of Sound You Can See. But by treating our audience with respect and assuming the best of them, we can give them options to engage with our shows however they want to or are able to. If your show is good, the clip won't supplant the show, but it will allow for continued audience involvement even when they can't always make the time for you. Now, we'll have more on this, including how the Rogan audience responded to this question, next week in our free webinar, Sound You Can See, and I hope to see you there. Thanks for listening to the partial attention economy of video podcasting. This episode is hosted on Art19. I'm Tom Webster, and I'll see you next week.